This is a fictional story based on my generation part 3. Jungkook, I am an opinion of I don't have one. The atmosphere suddenly becomes straight and special softer immediately as she looked at him. A little sadness appeared in her eyes, but the mafia face remained unreadable. Mafia King, he can't join, you can go. Yan immediately looked at her father in dismay. Yan, what? Why? Mafia King, because he has no background. His sharp gaze returned toward Jungkook. Mafia King, now tell me something. Why are you here? Just because Yan said she hired you? Jungkook answered without hesitation. Because I need a job. The Mafia King stayed silent. But before he could refuse again, Yan stepped forward immediately. Yan, see that. If someone has no background, that does not mean they don't deserve a job. Mafia King, Yan. But she cut him off instantly and continued talking without stopping. Yan. Dad, yesterday there were men everywhere and people screaming. And then one creepy guy tried to stab me. But he suddenly appeared out of nowhere like some action movie character. Jungkook quietly closed his eyes for 1 second. She really talked too much and continued dramatically. Yeah. Then you protect me from blows and hide me and throw from people and disappear over a wall like a literary ghost. Suddenly silence. Everyone froze. Even the guards looked at each other awkwardly because Yan spoke in the entire sentence without taking a single breath. Yan blinked innocently while noticing everyone staring at him. Yan was one guard proudly muttered under his breath. Guard, are she still alive after talking this much already? Yan gets running. I hear that. Some guard quickly looked away to hide their smile. The Mafia King signed heavily before calling her name in warning. Yan. But Yan immediately closed her arms stubbornly. Yan. Dad, if he is not my bodyguard, then I will not accept anyone else other. The Mafia King's expressions hardened slightly. Yan continued before he could interrupt her. Yan, and I'll keep running away like last night every time you locked me inside this night. Several guards looked stressed instantly after hearing that there because everyone knew she would absolutely do it. The Mafia King closed his eyes briefly like he suddenly developed a headache. Then finally, Mafia King, you are the biggest headache of my life. Yan smiled proudly instead of feeling offended. Yan, thank you. A new guard accidentally laughed quietly before stopping themselves immediately when the Mafia King looked toward them. Meanwhile, Jungkook stood silently beside them, watching the entire interaction carefully. Something unfamiliar twisted inside his chest again, because this scene felt impossible to understand. 20 years ago, the man in front of him burned a house with a child trapped inside, a monster, a killer. But right now that same man looked exhausted because his daughter talked too much and escaped mention to fun. And Yan she looked genuinely loved to protect, nothing like the darkness surrounding her father's world. The contraction irritated Jungkook more than it should have. Then suddenly the Mafia King spoke again. Mafia King, fine. Yan eyes wide instantly. Yan, really? The Mafia King pointed toward Jungkook without looking impressed. Mafia King, 1 month. Everyone turned toward him. Mafia King. If he proves himself useful, he stays. Yan looked second away from celebrating like he won a national award. She immediately turned toward Jungkook with the brightest smile. Yan, congratulations, you get the job. Jungkook stared at her silently. If only she knew she had just welcomed that directly into her home. An hour later, the mansion had become lively again as workers moved around to prepare for the day. Meanwhile, Jungkook stood quietly inside the living room near the entrance, waiting calmly with his hand in his pocket. He still wore black from head to toe, black shirt, black jacket, black pant. Even his expressions looked black emotionally, completely matching the cold, dangerous aura around him. Then suddenly fast footsteps echoed up from upstairs. Jungkook lifted his eyes slightly. Yan come running downstairs excitedly with her college bag hanging loosely from one shoulder. But instead of walking normally, she literally jumped from the last chair dramatically. Jungkook's body reacted instantly. He stepped forward immediately, like he was about to catch her if she fell. Jungkook stopped himself quietly and straight again. Jungkook, okay, let's go, ma'am. Yan immediately made a face. Ew. Jungkook frowned slightly. Don't call me ma'am. I sound 40-year-old. Jungkook stayed silent for a second. Jungkook, okay. Yan nodded proudly like she had fixed a serious issue. But just suddenly her eyes slowly scanned his outfit from head to toe and her expressions changed immediately. Wait, Jungkook looked at her calmly. Are you seriously going like this? Jungkook lowered his eyes toward his clothes briefly. What's wrong with them? Yan looked personally offended. Everything. Jungkook eyebrow twitched slightly. Yan pointed at him dramatically. Look, if look, if you want to stay with me, then listen carefully. She walked closer while speaking seriously. I hate black. Jungkook blinked once. Slowly, Yan continued confidently. Yan, and I escapely hate that scary bodyguard look. A dangerous silence followed because black was basically Jungkook's entire personality. Jungkook, then what exactly am I supposed to wear? Yan, Auntie, her loud voice echoed through the mansion dramatically. Few seconds later, the headmaid voice came from the hallway in the exact same tone. Headmaid, yes, princess. Yan immediately giggled like a child. The headmaid finally walked into the living room with a warm smile. Yan quickly leaned closer and whispered something into her ear secretly. The handmaid's eyes widened instantly, then slowly she turned toward Jungkook and looked at him with pure pity. Handmaid, are you sure, princess? Yan nodded proudly without hesitation, like she had just made the best decision of her life. The handmaid looked at Jungkook one more time, still with pity. A dangerous feeling slowly crept into Jungkook's mind. Jungkook, what did you say to her? Yan looked at him innocently, too innocently. Nothing important. Jungkook narrowed his eyes slightly. That answer alone feels suspicious, very suspicious. A few minutes later, the handmaid returned, but this time with multiple shopping bags in both hands. Behind her, two more maids following, carrying even more bags. Jungkook stared at the shopping bags like that they personally offended him. Then his expression slowly hardened. Jungkook, absolutely not. Yan ignored him completely. She excitedly grabbed one of the bags. Yan, this one first. Jungkook looked horrible. Jungkook, I'm not wearing that. Yan held the sweater against him anyway while examining seriously. Yan, actually this color would make you look less like a serial killer. The maid nearly quickly looked down to hide their laughter. Jungkook jaw tight slightly. Jungkook, I already said no. But Yan had already entered full stylish mode. One by one, she started pulling clothes out rapidly. White shirt, blue hoodies, light jeans, soft sweater. Meanwhile, Jungkook stood there looking like he regarded surviving childhood. Yan, definitely no more black. Jungkook, black is normal. Jungkook, good. Yan gasped dramatically. Yan, see, this is exactly the problem. The handmaid quietly stepped closer to Jungkook with another sympathetic look. Handmaid, just cooperate, son. It will end faster. Jungkook looked at her silently. Even betrayal felt calmer than this situation. Then suddenly, Yan shoved multiple clothes into his arm. Yan, go change. Jungkook looked down at the pile, then back at her. Jungkook, where? Yan put it upstairs immediately. Guest room 5 minutes and don't come out wearing black again. or I'll throw you back outside. Jungkook stared at her for a long second. Nobody in here had ordered him around like this and survived afterward, but somehow here he was, standing inside a mansion while being bullied into fashion choices by his own target. What had his life become? Without another word, Jungkook finally took the clothes and walked upstairs and watched him leave proudly. Maid, Princess adopted a criminal-looking man like a stray cat. Pointed proudly. Exactly. Meanwhile, upstairs, Jungkook entered the guest room and closed the door behind him, silently, finally surrounding him again. He looked down at the soft begin sweater in his hand with deep disappointment. Jungkook, unbelievable. But after a moment, he slowly removed his black jacket anyway. A few minutes later, Yan sat impatiently on the living room couch while the maid gathering around her exactly like they were waiting for a celebrity reveal. Yan keeps staring toward the staircase dramatically. Yan, why is he to take? Yan immediately sat up. He would not dare. Just then, footsteps economic from upstairs. Everyone turned instantly, and then Jungkook appeared for a moment. The entire room went silent, completely silent, because the difference was insane. The soft vegan sweater fit him perfectly, making him look younger and less terrifying than before. He still looked dangerous, but now danger, danger in a heartbreak way, not murder way. Even the maids looked shocked. One maid quietly covered her mouth. Oh my god. Nan blinked slowly while staring at him openly. Her eyes widened little by little. Jungkook noticed immediately and frowned slightly. What now? Yan stayed silent for 2 more seconds before suddenly pointed at him directly. Why are you illegally handsome? The maids instantly burst into laughter. Jungkook looked deeply unimpressed. Illegally. Yan quickly stood up and walked around him like he was inspect expensive artwork. This is unfair actually. She stopped in front of him again and nodded proudly. Much better. Jungkook looked down at himself with visible disappointment. I look weak. Yan looked uptight again. No, you look approachable. Jungkook, that sounds worse. The handmaid smiled warmly while fixing Jungkook's slightly folded sleeve gently. Now you finally look human. Jungkook stared at her silently. Why did everyone in this house insult him so casually? Then suddenly Yan grabbed his wrist again. Okay, let's go before Jungkook. Wait. Yan turned around. Jungkook calmly picked up the black pot resting beside the couch. Yan narrowed her eyes suspiciously. What are you doing? Jungkook lowered the pot over the soft sweater anyway. Compromising. Yan looked like she wanted to argue.